The Program for Infant-Toddler Caregivers is an activity of West Ed, Center for Child and Family Studies, and the California Department of Education Child Development Division. In every species, there is a fundamental drive to protect the young. This is particularly true for the very young. Because they are so vulnerable, infants need this protection for their survival. Just to see a baby brings out feelings of tenderness and the desire to shield the infant from harm. What we often see with human infants is the acting out by both parents and caregivers of this protective urge.
You want to swim in there too? Yes. Can you say bye-bye?
The reason infants survive and the reason we have survived as a species is because parents are so extremely protective and so attuned to every source of danger that might impinge on the well-being of their children.
But it's when you're changing.
Parents' concerns are even more intense when children are in infant care.
They've got their toys all around her, and I think about that. Like when you told me that the little girl, Taylor, wanted to pick her up, and I went home and I had this terrible nightmare about that,
I remember, yeah.
So that's what I think about, is like she might get hurt.
Now, because infants bring that out in us, that feeling of protectiveness, the caregiver is in the same heightened state of emotional arousal in relation to the baby.
I felt angry and upset because they were not paying attention to the little girl. They were not dressing her or bathing her, like you said, and they were not giving any attention to the child.
So you have two grown-ups, each of which is very invested in protecting these babies.
These strong protective feelings in both parent and caregiver can lead to a rich partnership of care.
6:30. Okay.
But they can also interfere with caregivers and parents working together.
Well, when I first got pregnant, I think the first thing I did was fantasize about being able to stay home with her and telling my husband I decided to stay home, and he said great, and we just go on from there. But I knew that I'd have to eventually start looking for daycare and didn't want to have to go through that process. And while I knew that there were good and reputable daycares out there, I didn't feel like anyone could take care of Adrian the way I could. But eventually I had to look for it. And it wasn't easy.
Helping parents deal with feelings as intense as these requires a lot of a caregiver.
The issues that come up are so much more exaggerated, not exaggerated because that's how they feel, honestly, but magnified by the younger the child, the more apprehension that I see. And they're looking to feel okay about their decision to put their child in child care.
Our research has shown that of all the caregiver attributes that parents list as important, the three that go the furthest to quiet their fears are understanding, a caregiver who appreciates what the parent is going through; competence, a caregiver who clearly knows what she is doing; and honesty, a caregiver who is trustworthy.
Exercise your independence of what she wants to do.
Every once in a while I do see them crying and there are tears in their eyes, even though they don't say anything to us. And we try to say, well, please, this is your center, please come in and visit as much as possible. I know this is very difficult for you.
So you really have to be sensitive to their needs and talk to them a lot and find out if they're comfortable, and if they're not, find out why they're not.
It took me several months to adjust to being back at work and being a mother of an infant. I was pretty used to being a mother to my daughter, but incorporating him and lack of sleep and the stress of leaving him at a daycare with pretty much a stranger, it was really hard.
Parents feel quite mixed about the need to turn over the care of their child to somebody else. And as a result, there's a great deal of trepidation, worry. I think that there is also a fear that the child will become attached to the caregiver more than to the parent, and that the parent is really losing the child in some way as a result of having the caregiver spend so much time with the child.
Whether it's worry about the child's attachment to the caregiver or any other fear, what the parent really wants is to be heard and understood.
I know that maybe I do obsess a little much, but just I know that that I'm still feeling really anxious, and I miss my baby a lot. Yeah. So it is really, it's
Parents' emotions may be close to the surface, even though they don't always show it. Your understanding of the parent's vulnerability can help you give them the support they seek.
Will they know what to do? How will they know when to change her diaper? Real basic stuff. When to feed her, even though we gave her the schedule. Are they going to feed her? With other, even though the ratio is pretty good, the caretaker to baby ratio, but are they going to feed her? If she gets cranky, is she sick? I mean, little things that we would know as parents, will they know?
Do they understand what the cry means? Are they tired, they're hungry? If they're crying all the time, are they going to overfeed her? So that was one of our apprehensions too. Will they be able to determine what the different cries are and knowing what to do?
Parents' questions are more often a reflection of their fears and anxieties than they are an assessment of the caregiver's competence. Their heightened emotions can keep them from seeing the good job that you're doing. So don't take offense. The best way to deal with parents' worries is to help them see your competence.
I feel very good about being part of a center where I can highlight those things, a low child-teacher ratio, a facility built to take care of children, highly educated staff, all the things that go into quality child care. Whenever I'm walking through the building, I'll highlight those things. And I think that helps them feel that their child's in good hands and that we really know what we're doing.
The reason for exhibiting your competence is not to show off all that you know, but to lessen the parents' fears. This is done by showing that you've put a lot of thought into meeting the needs of infants and parents.
And what I do is I have a little binder which tells a little bit about myself and has news clippings and samples of the different flyers and things that I have, and little pictures and photos of the children. I let them look at that.
It helps to provide a written statement of your philosophy of care and give parents specific information about your program.
Explains our sickness policy. And if your child has any allergies, what we do is we write them on the board here.
Highlight your health and safety practices. Realizing that you know what you're talking about eases parents' minds.
If I can quote what the state licensing regulations are to a parent, then they can look at me as someone who's been around and can really be a wealth of information for them.
Parents also need to know that you can help them with concerns about their child.
Seems like she's starting her terrible twos by, throwing her tantrums, and she's throwing herself on the floor. What do you do with that?
Well,
Hearing that you have thought about and effectively dealt with their issues is very reassuring.
There was no choice involved, and so we try to give her a choice. Like, if it's time to go out, does she want to be carried out, or does she want to walk outside? And so that usually helps a little bit, so she has more control.
Parents really come to appreciate your competence when they see your genuine interest in the development of their child. Hearing from you about daily triumphs and joys gives the message that everyone is in good hands.
One of the first things Sharon said to me when I brought Adrienne here to talk about using her as a provider was that if there was ever anything that she was doing that I wasn't comfortable with or that I had questions about, to just say it, to just ask her, to just tell her.
If I have any questions, I ask her, and she always gives me a very straight, direct answer. I don't have to feel like she's beating around the bush with me trying to say what I want to hear. And that's really important, because I don't want to hear the candy-coated answer. I want to hear that this is how she's going to do something.
But I think a balance between having clear, concise answers to parents' questions and not dodging the question, but also admitting when you don't know the answer. I think that that's okay to do too. I do that often. If I just don't know, I say, I can get back to you on that. And I think that helps them feel that I'll be honest with them in the future. I won't make up an answer.
Honesty also means letting parents know about things that happen during the day, even if they are hard to talk about.
Spencer fell off the wagon and bumped his head. That's why he's got the ice on his head.
Oh yeah? You're an active guy. That's what happens with active guys. Come on.
It helps parents to see you and other staff in action. It takes the mystery out of things. Encouraging parents to drop in at any time and stay for as long as they want allays fears and builds trust.
Because I'd rather be home with her.
We've seen that parents of infants and toddlers are desperate for understanding. They're worried about the quality of their child's care, and they're fearful about what may be happening to their child when they're not there.
But I had just an uneasy feeling, about going with this woman.
By helping parents sense your understanding, competence, and honesty, you will go a long way toward reassuring them and gaining their trust and respect.
Parents go home and they do the same thing, or how do you?
If I communicate with you as far
But parents' emotions are not the only ones that need attention. Caregivers have feelings too. Most of the time, caregivers feel good about the parents they work with and develop a strong bond with both parent and child. But sometimes working with parents can stir up unsettling feelings. We brought together a group of caregivers to talk with Dr. Alicia Lieberman. They share with her some of the discomfort they've experienced as caregivers.
Yeah, it hurts when you see, especially because you become so attached to the child and see them being treated how you don't feel is right. Mm-hmm. And it hurts your feelings, and you do have to, you get kind of frustrated because you know you're going to have to deal with the parent, and it's a scary thing to deal with the parent.
Well, I felt angry and upset because they were not paying attention to the little girl. They were not dressing her or bathing her, like you said, and they were not giving any attention to the child.
These caregivers are worried for the children's well-being. Caregivers get quite disturbed when they believe that the parent is not properly caring for the child.
That's why he was doing it.
Caregivers also get upset when they sense they are not appreciated or respected.
Yes, I feel that they don't respect me, and I do get upset. Mm-hmm. And I do get really defensive when people call me babysitter. I mean, very.
it really makes me angry when the parents come in and don't respect your home. They don't respect your privacy. And they just come in early in the morning, making noise. Your children are still sleeping. And it's like they feel that they're paying their number one and that they don't care about, you know, that this is your home. And it makes me very angry.
Feelings like these should not be ignored. If bottled up, they only become more intense.
I think that the caregiver might find herself totally to her surprise having an outburst of anger or becoming distracted, becoming less organized in her everyday routine. These are signs that there are feelings that are not being managed well and they're spilling in other aspects of the caregiver's life.
When emotions get intense, the first thing to do is explore them.
So this parent would just keep, you know, throwing the pediatric on the back and then just...
For most of us, it's hard to explore our own feelings, particularly those that make us uncomfortable. It's easier to avoid them by focusing on the behavior of others.
Most of the times, you know, the parents are so involved in their work and so involved in their own little problems that they don't take a good look at the child and see what the child really needs. It's not only, you know...
Marisabel is upset, but she's having a hard time getting at her feelings. Dr. Lieberman helps her go deeper.
What do you remember what you experienced inside you?
I was sad, you know, that the child was going to be taken away from me because he's been with me for a long time.
Yes.
And I cared for him because...
Marisabel has taken a critical step. She's now thinking in terms of her own feelings. But you have to keep working with your feelings to really appreciate their effect on you.
Stay with the emotion and watch it. If we are very angry, it's a good idea to observe ourselves being angry, to feel our anger and to sit with it for a while and to try to follow its movement, so to speak.
By uncovering what you deeply feel, you gain a more complete understanding of the situation and increase your chances of finding a solution. But understanding is not enough.
I think there needs to be also a way of accepting feelings that we have that are not all that palatable. Accepting that we are going to be angry, we are going to be critical, we are going to be blaming, that we can't just work on a dimension of harmony and patience and tolerance and generosity, but that there will be times when we're feeling ungiving and irritable and, you know, critical.
After you've explored and accepted your feelings, the next thing to do is check them out with others. Share with your colleagues the feelings that are bothering you, and state them as clearly as you can. What you're looking for are explanations that may not have occurred to you. Family care providers can form networks to talk with each other about the issues that arise with parents. Often this is done through a resource and referral agency.
It's a lot harder. The longer you let it go, the harder it gets.
I think that the feedback of peers, of our friends, of people we trust is very important in helping us gain perspective on our own feelings and where they might be coming from, and having us have a richer view of what is happening.
One thing I do is talk to other staff members to find out kind of a temperature gauge. Is it my problem, or am I okay? Find out from them if I'm justified, I guess, in their opinion.
And several parents are really upset. I'm getting really frustrated how to deal with it.
Sharing with colleagues will almost always lead to more clarity. But you still need to gather more information about the parents' way of looking at things. It's important to make sure that you have not misjudged or misunderstood the situation before taking action.
Lots of questions. Are you feeling better about dropping her off now? I mean,
Bring the issue up with the parent in a general way in order to test our assumptions and determine from the parent whether what we're assuming is right or whether actually there's a different explanation for the situation that is worrying us. The parent might actually tell us that things are quite different from the way we imagine them to be, and then that is very clarifying information.
No, it's not really an issue with me, the single thing, because I've never done it any other way. You know, people ask, oh, isn't it hard to be a single mom as well? I really, you know, it isn't as if I've had someone around and he's now gone. So it's just doing what I do, and I don't really find it like super difficult.
Your goal is to create a relaxed situation in which the parent can open up, spend most of the time listening, avoid being critical, arguing, disagreeing, or trying to solve the problem.
It might turn out that, let's say, the parent was fired from his job, or is going through a divorce, or has family problems.
Sometimes the conversation won't give you clear answers, but it will contribute to a more complete picture of what's going on. With each issue you face, take the time to explore your feelings, check with colleagues, and seek the parent's point of view. Combine what you learn with your knowledge of the parent's intense need for understanding, competence, and honesty, and you're ready to develop a plan of action. No matter what the issue, everything from late payment to concerns about child abuse, planning is important. There are 3 major areas to consider: addressing your own issues, interacting with a parent, and finding outside help. Always start with yourself.
Yes, I feel that they don't respect me, and I do get upset. And I do get really defensive when people call me babysitter.
If you've uncovered fears, resentments, and biases that you need to handle, make part of your plan seeking out support. Find someone to talk with, specialized training, or counseling. Are you experiencing stress? Then set aside time for yourself. Take walks, stretch, meditate. Ask yourself if you're doing too much to meet a family's needs. If so, your plan should be to set specific limits on what you'll do. Sometimes all you need is a plan for yourself, but often you will have to go further and meet with a parent.
If it's something that needs to be worked out, well, the first time you do something like that, your palms get sweaty, everything gets sweaty, but you just kind of have to do it, because otherwise you're going to feel badly that you couldn't do it, and the parent really needs to know.
Before you meet with a parent, it's critical to plan your approach. Assess how you will be received by the parent. Is there tension between the two of you? Be clear about which issues are bottom-line issues and which ones are negotiable. Plan how you will present the topic so the parent will not feel defensive. For your part, you must be open to what the parent has to say. Sometimes the problem is too big and you need outside help. All caregivers should know that they do not have to solve every problem on their own.
Good afternoon, River Child Care. This is Carol.
Could a resource and referral agency help you or the parent address the problem? Is there a child care mental health professional available for consultation? Should your plan include referring parents to services in your community? For example, family support services, drug and alcohol counseling, food banks, or health clinics. By tapping available resources, you'll find even big problems can become more manageable. Finally, you must confront the possibility that you're dealing with an issue for which no plan will work. In the majority of cases, however, a good action plan uncovers solutions and starts you and the parent on the road to solving problems and strengthening relationships. When you come to know the power of protective urges, both your own and those of parents, when you learn how understanding, competence, and honesty can quiet parents' anxieties, and when you acknowledge and accept your own feelings, you become better able to deal with problematic issues. Rather than being driven toward conflict with parents, you are guided toward an alignment of care. Parent and caregiver working together to protect and nurture the child.
Okay, Mom's gotta go to work. Say
Okay,
bye,
sweetie.
Mom. Kiss me. Bye,
Okay.
honey.
Bye, Mom. Have a good day.